Being a DoorDash driver is expensive. Here are 5 expenses that you need to watch out for. DoorDash likes to advertise that you can make $18 to $25 an hour as a DoorDash driver. While this may be true for your gross hourly pay, it's certainly not the pay you'll be getting to keep in your pocket after it's all said and done. With the rise in gas prices and the drop in base pay, it's getting increasingly harder to boost profit numbers. Being self-employed is great and all, but when it comes to DoorDash, it seems like it can be an uphill battle just to keep your own little delivery business afloat. So here are the expenses you need to keep in mind. Number 1, taxes. Taxes are the biggest amount of money that you'll need to be taking out of your daily or weekly paycheck. Here's a brief rundown of how much you should be paying in taxes. For a $1,000 week, you would have to pay 15.3% for self-employment tax, then whatever your state income tax is, plus the federal income tax bracket that you fall into. For me, this works out to be about 32%, 15.3% self-employment tax, plus 4.9% Utah state income tax, and 12% federal income tax. Luckily, that 32% doesn't come out of the $1,000 that you made for the week. See, before you take out the money you have to pay in taxes, you have to figure out what your taxable income is, which is how much you made after tax deductions. The easiest way to figure it out is to just use the standard deduction, which is 56 cents for every mile you drive while you're on the job. You could also use the itemized deduction, which is a lot more complicated, and it usually ends up being less than if you had just taken the standard deduction. So say you drove 750 miles to make that $1,000. You get to write off $420, making your taxable income $580, which is what you take the 32% out of, making your tax bill $185.60 for the week, leaving you with $814.40. Expense number 2. Gas. Gas is the next biggest expense when it comes to being a DoorDash driver, and this varies widely depending on what market you're in. Some places you could pay upwards of $5 per gallon for gas, and other states you might only have to pay about $2.50 for gas. And also it depends on what car you're driving. Some cars get 40 miles per gallon, some cars only get 17 to 18. So this is the reason why it varies so much, because different states and different cars have different combinations of how much you're going to be spending on gas. But just understand that when you have that $1,000 go into your bank account, you already spent gas making that amount of money. For me, in order to make $1,000 a week, I'd probably have to drive 750 miles. So for me, driving 750 miles would cost me about $90, bringing our weekly profit to $724.40. Now with this expense, there are some ways to save on it. Those ways might include apps like GetUpside, or certain memberships with certain gas stations can save you a few cents per gallon, and also maybe getting a new car that gets way better gas mileage than the car you're currently driving. Also, taking orders that have more freeway miles instead of taking orders that have a lot of city miles. Now these are just minor things, but they all can help you save a little bit of money in this category. The next expense you guys need to remember is car maintenance and car repairs. These sometimes can add up in a hurry and be pretty expensive. So it's best to be saving a portion of your daily or weekly paycheck towards a fund that goes directly towards car maintenance and car repairs. This way, if something comes up, you have the money sitting there in a bank account that you can just draw from. Because let me tell you, if a surprise expense comes up, you're not going to want to be paying for it without having any money saved up, because sometimes these expenses can be pretty pricey. These are things like oil changes, which if you're driving 750 miles a week, you're gonna have to get one of these about every month and a half, which can add up in a hurry. This also includes tire changes, which I've had my fair share of. It seems like every month or so, I'm either popping a tire on some nails, on some construction site, or going through a gravel road, or just hitting a curb because I'm an idiot. This can also include random things that go out on your car, like changing the brake pads, or just this weekend, I had to change a hose in my car because it was leaking coolant, which cost me $280. So these are just random things that you're going to want to have money set aside for, kind of like a rainy day fund, because you never know when something could go out. So my best practice is to just save 5% of whatever you make for the week into this fund. This means that with our $1,000 scenario, you'd be saving $50, which brings our new profit to $674.40. The next expense that you guys need to remember is that cars don't last forever, so you should be saving towards a new car. With the amount of miles we put on our cars, you have to realistically think about how long am I going to be DoorDashing for? Am I doing this full time? Am I only going to be doing it part time? And all these other things, because when it comes to being a DoorDash driver, you're putting so many miles on your car that in all reality, that car that you're using to DoorDash with is probably only going to last you 3 to 6 years, depending on how many hours you're out there actually driving. So if you're going full time, you could see yourself putting upwards of 30,000 miles a year on your car. And that's not including any personal miles you put on your car for anything else you're doing, like grocery shopping or going to see family or going on a road trip. So you could be looking at over 40,000 miles a year being put on your car. So like I said, it's best to plan on having that car for 3 to 6 years unless you're just using it solely for DoorDash. You could probably stretch it out a little bit longer. For this category, I like to save about 3% every single week towards a new car. This way, if I am making $1,000 a week, I'm saving away $30 every week, which means in about 5 years, I'll have around $8,000 saved up, and that'll get me a pretty nice used car or be a really good down payment for a new car, depending on which one I want to get. So after saving away that 3%, that brings our new profit total to $644.40. Now the next expense, some people may not have, but I know for me, I definitely have it, and it can add up in a hurry, and this would be food and drink. I usually spend about $50 a week on food and drink while I'm out dashing. And the way I justify this is I spend about $7 a day on food and about $2 to $3 a day on energy drinks. And in my opinion, it helps me make more money because by having the energy drink with me, I can get orders done quicker and keep my energy up throughout my entire shift. And also when it comes to me buying food on my shift, I feel like spending $7 on a meal while I'm already out dashing saves me so much time because it would take me about 40 minutes to stop my dash, drive all the way back to my apartment, make and eat the food that I make at my apartment, and then drive all the way back out to a good area of door dashing. So instead, I like to just save the time, take about 15 minutes, just pick something up that I'm close to while I'm out dashing, and it ends up making me more money in the end anyway. So that's the strategy I like to use, but it is still an expense. So after taking out that $50, our new profit total is $594.40. So basically, if it takes you 50 hours a week, averaging $20 an hour to make that $1,000, then really you're only pocketing $11.89 per hour. And this doesn't include other expenses like car insurance, any phone plan you're on, and any other thing you're using to help you along on your daily dash. So the reason I make this video is to help you guys understand that as a DoorDash driver, you really only get to keep about 59% of all the money you make. And if you're doing this full time, it can really seem like an uphill battle trying to pay all these expenses, try to pay your personal expenses, and to save some money along with all that. I would say that from my almost 4 years of experience, the best practice is to just use this as a side hustle and not your main source of income. Now, it is possible to have this as your main source of income, but it just makes things harder because you're constantly racking up expenses, and the longer you're out dashing, the higher those expenses become because you're putting more and more miles on your car. And so I would say to just use DoorDash as a part-time job and maybe get a job elsewhere or make money in another way that doesn't put miles or wear and tear on your car. Now, if you are going to do this full time, that is okay. Just remember, it might be best to get a part-time job and work DoorDash with that, and make sure that part-time job isn't putting any extra miles on your car. This way you can maximize the amount of money you're bringing in every week, still have money for those expenses, but also be making more money to set aside for your retirement or for other future savings that you have. And if all of this seems kind of confusing to you guys, I do have a spreadsheet that you can subscribe to if you want a little help on organizing your expenses. It does all the math for you. All you have to do is put in the amount of money you made, the amount of miles you drove, and how long it took you to make that amount of money, and it will do all the math for you and separate all of your expenses. So if you want to be a part of that, become a priority subscriber. The link is down in the description, and make sure if you got some value out of this video, hit that subscribe button for me, and I'll see you guys next time.